We'll start with SPLC. Here is Kash Patel. Kash, let's go.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, in a massive sweeping indictment, has been charged with allegations of fraud and using the banking system to perpetrate that fraud. I just want to talk about a couple of brief things here. The Southern Poverty Law Center themselves advertise to raise money to dismantle violent extremist groups for a period of at least a decade. They use their donor network to raise money to purportedly dismantle violent extremist groups. However, the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, used the money they raised from their donor network to actually pay the leadership of these very groups. I just want to say that again. They used the fraudulently raised money by lying to their donor network, thousands of Americans, to go ahead and actually pay the leadership of these supposed violent extremist groups.
First off, I do not like the Southern Poverty Law Center at all. I do believe that they funneled money to these people and that actually aided in those organizations that they were allegedly trying to infiltrate and destroy. Probably a lot of that money was just used to continue doing the things that those organizations were doing. And then the SPLC was then able to raise more money because those organizations were so terrible. And then they were still funneling money to those organizations or to people in the organizations, and then turning around again, raising money off of how terrible those organizations were. I think that is happening. It's not quite as crazy and like clear cut as what everyone's making it far on X.
To me, you can break this down easily. They were able to monetize publicized forms of gaslighting.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's fund the very things that we hate so we can write about and put them on a list and then raise more money.
Yes.
To fund the things that we hate, allegedly hate. I mean, it's a great scheme.
Oh, it is a great scheme.
And they ended up what? Their endowment has close to $500 million.
Well, it's pretty crazy if you look at how much money they raised before the Unite the Right rally. And remember the big one with the fine people?
Yeah.
Where Trump called SPLC fine people.
I've been to Charlottesville.
They had 51 million in revenue before that, and then immediately after that, it jumped up to 133 million. So it was very beneficial for them.
$81 million off of that.
Very beneficial for them. But here's the indictment. So there's a lot of things being said about this, and I agree that all of those things are very possible. Our issue right now is that it's a 14-page indictment. I read it 3 times today. It's not hard to read the indictment. It's not hard to look at the exact information we've been given so far on all of these instances, which is not a lot of information. Now, I'm very interested in seeing if they do an investigation and through this case, they're able to obtain text messages and emails and all of these things where maybe they were helping to organize some of these events, or if they were really working to try and increase the amount of hate so they could make more money off of those extremist groups. That's a really great story, and I think that there is some truth to it. I don't see it in the indictment exactly. I'm going to go through what's in here. SPLC's stated mission included the dismantling of white supremacy and confronting hate across the country. However, unbeknownst to donors, some of their donated money was being used to fund the leaders and organizers of racist groups, including the KKK, Aryan Nation, and the National Alliance. The SPLC's paid informants, or field sources, engaged in the active promotion of racist groups at the same time that the SPLC was denouncing the same groups on its website. The SPLC also had a field source who was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia. That field source made racist posting under the supervision of SPLC and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. In order to covertly pay its field sources, the SPLC opened bank accounts connected to a series of fictitious entities. The covert nature of the accounts allowed the SPLC to disguise the true nature, source, ownership, and control of the fraudulently obtained donated money the SPLC paid the field sources. In order to keep the scheme going, the SPLC made a series of false statements related to the operation of the accounts. So this is really what they're getting in trouble for.
This is all alleged, by the way.
This is all alleged right now. We don't have a lot of information on this. They're really getting in trouble for creating these fictitious entities and creating bank accounts for these entities that had, no employees, stuff like that. They're getting in trouble for operating like the FBI and the CIA, basically. And so there's like wire fraud and money laundering and stuff like that.
Take a little bit more of a insidious approach to this because it affects, in large part, it affects a show like ours. It hasn't, I would say, directly affected us. Good Morning Liberty didn't end up on their list. However, in my view, the SPLC has been used as a way for YouTube and Facebook and other social media folks to silence or demonetize or deplatform certain folks because of their list of extremists and all kinds of things that those algorithms then directly affect a show like ours. And so to me, it is such a sinister setup against, voices, dissenting voices that they may not agree with to control and direct the narrative. And they try to make everyone believe that you are the problem when in fact it's their entire scheme that they set up to kind of control and direct this narrative. I can't tell you how many arguments you and I used to get in when we were at like Politicon and all kinds of stuff. People would actually bring up the Southern Poverty Law Center as a resource.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, you can't listen to that person because they're an extremist.
I'm looking at their list on their website right now.
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson's on there. Chaya from Libs of TikTok, Michael Flynn. These are all extremists on here. Alex Jones. And let's see, Matt Walsh is on there. Let's see. He demonizes LGBTQ plus people and promotes racist and anti-trans conspiracy theories. Okay. Stuff like that. I'm just going through, seeing who some of the extremists are on this website. Their website's not working very well right now. So unfortunately, that's the problem with not doing it beforehand and getting screenshots and all that. Let's see. James Lindsay's on there. Oh, that's fine. Chrisanne Hall's on there. Chad Posovic's on there. Nick Fuentes is on there. He's not an extremist. Come on. Stephen Miller's on there. Some of these people I don't know, so I'm not going to try and defend them or anything, but they obviously are just listing a bunch of people that are their political enemies and trying to get them demonetized, deplatformed, trying to destroy them in the public realm in order to try and take away any chance that anyone would take their ideas of their movement seriously, to try and paint them as a racist, anti-Semite, some kind of bigot, some kind of extremist of any kind. And there's probably not.
And by the way, this is how.
Do you think there's a lot of like commie extremists on here? There could be.
Well, this is how. By the way, this is also how like mainstream media is able to classify some people they talk about when they say, for instance, Tucker Carlson, who's listed as a woke right, far right, Nazi.
They probably don't say woke right. That's what the other extremists on their list says.
Well, what I'm saying is they say all these, adjectives about this person, and then they'll say according to Southern Poverty Law Center. And they get away with putting out articles like that. The New York Times and the Washington Post and all of these things. That's what they do is they're able to label people, put them in certain boxes, and utilize made up reporting that the Southern Poverty Law Centers and others like it. They're not, the SLPC is not the only one. SPLC. Yeah, there's the ADL, and there's plenty of organizations like this. Tucker Carlson's category is just general hate. Anyway, they're ridiculous, and if this ends up taking them down, I will be fine. I think there's a danger to thinking that
everything that is like, say, actual extremist, like things that we don't like we don't really like the groupthink ideologies and the hatred of specific groups and all of that. And there is a danger to being able to look, which is why I'm trying to caution a little bit today and say, see, none of that is real. It's all bought and paid for by these other people. Anytime something like that is happening, it's not actually any kind of problem that needs to be addressed or that anyone should think about or try to talk to their friends about, because it doesn't actually exist. It was just funded by George Soros or something like that. And so it's not even a real thing that's happening. And that's a really easy position for both right and left people to take, to never have to think about some of the kind of nastier, like more extreme versions of their ideologies or whatever, But anyway, that's not what we're talking about right now. The SPLC's Paid Informants Network, or the Fs. Starting in the 1980s, the SPLC began operating a covert network of informants who were either associated with violent extremist groups such as the KKK or who had infiltrated violent extremist groups at the SPLC's direction.
That's an important distinction, by the way, at the SPLC's direction.
Yeah. Now, what their argument is going to be on this is they're trying to dismantle these groups. And that is what it says. Like when they're soliciting donations, they are trying to find any avenue they can to destroy hate. And so, sure, they're infiltrating some of these groups and they're trying to get information on them, and they do share information with the FBI. How do you think Kash Patel and DOJ found out about this?
Yeah. And the CEO of the SPLC is going to get on the stand and be like, hell yeah, we gave Cletus $1 million back in 1987.
Yeah, that's exactly what
he was down here in Santa Fe, Tennessee, hanging out with David Duke. I think that's where they're located.
Are they in Santa Fe?
I think so. They are, or the leader is now.
Yeah. Okay.
Trying to get information on them so we could help destroy their white coats on their horses.
Between at least 2014 and 2023, the SPLC paid their Fs in a clandestine manner. Doing so hid the fact that while the SPLC received donation money under the auspices that the funds would be used to dismantle violent extremist groups, this donation money was instead being used in part by the SPLC to pay leaders and others within these same violent extremist groups. That money was then used for the benefit of the individuals as well as the violent extremist groups. So what we don't have right now is like the information on exactly how the money was used. They were paying informants. We know that. They paid people to infiltrate the groups. We know that. Okay, so did people just take the money and they just kept doing everything that they used to be doing before that? Did they throw in a little bit of information that no one cared about, or let them know about a rally that was going to be happening and that was worth giving the money, And so essentially they were just kind of keeping this person on the payroll, allowing them to continue operating and doing all of their racist extremist things that they were doing, while they were just giving them like, oh yeah, we're having a meeting next week on Tuesday night. Bring coffee sweetener if you want to come, something like that. Between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC secretly funneled more than $3 million in SPLC funds to Fs who were associated with various violent extremist groups. Here are some of the Fs. All right. F37. F37 is probably the biggest news piece out of this entire thing right now. So we're going to start with the biggest piece of news out of this entire thing. F37 was a member of the online leadership chat group that planned the 2017 Unite the Right event in Charlottesville, Virginia, and attended the event at the direction of the SPLC. F37 made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC and helped coordinate transportation to the event for several attendees. Between 2015 and 2023, the SPLC secretly paid F37 more than $270,000. All right. So
I understand what the argument's going to be, but my God, you cannot convince me that they are just not spinning up their own hate to then directly profit off of it.
I think whether or not that's their intention, which I'm fine with that being, like, if I'm fine accepting that is their intention and they are an evil organization who is trying to create the villain that they were fundraising to try and fight. Like, yes, They are absolutely the type of people that would do this. I have a couple issues with it. And okay, I just have a couple issues. And my main issue is that that's all the information we have about that thing for Charlottesville. That paragraph right there, everything that you read about SPLC funding, creating, organizing this entire Unite the Right rally that created the fine people, that's the paragraph that we have about it. That's all the information anyone has been given about this subject, is that paragraph right there. Now, they said $270,000 between 2015 and 2023. The rally happened in 2017. What I would like to know is how much money did they give the person between 2015 and 2017? Because I bet you it's something more and a much lower amount of money that would not be as fun for us all to talk about right now, potentially. So why, if we're talking about the Unite the Right rally, are we including money that was given afterwards? I would like to know how much money was given before the Unite the Right rally for them to plan and organize and create this event that they then fundraised $81 million immediately afterwards off of. I'm just saying,
if I was F37, I'd be like, yeah, you guys raised 81 million. 270 is not enough.
Yeah.
For all the work I did.
That's not a good cut.
No.
That is not a good cut off of that, okay? Especially for the guy who organized the entire thing. You know, that's a pretty big deal. So this has led to, I hate that I'm talking about it like this today. This is why, you know, we're not going to go super viral with these ideas, with this information. Because I'm not going to take it and run with it into this massive conspiracy, which I admit could possibly and probably exist, but I don't have enough information to do that. How do people do it? I don't know how people do it. How do I take that paragraph right there and spin it into SPLC created the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, and they're the reason that entire thing happened. And they just created this whole, are there even two sentences? I think that's all. No, there's two sentences in that thing. I just don't get enough information to say that. I'm sorry. Like this person says.
I mean, it's leaning that way, but I get what you're saying. Innocent until proven guilty. You can't definitively say we know for sure.
Yeah.
But the interesting part about this that I think in this particular paragraph is that this person who was part of the leadership chat group.
Does that make them, I think that would be leadership, right? Like if you're part of the leadership chat group, it seems like you're leadership.
He made racist postings under the supervision of the SPLC. Now, I would like to know what that means. Did he get them approved by the SPLC? Did he say, hey, I'm going to put the N-word on my Twitter and you guys okay with that? And they said, yeah, go for it.
They said hard R, yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Make sure you get that R in there.
I would like to know. Now, obviously evidence was presented to a grand jury. The grand jury decided to, indict. It's not hard to convince a grand jury, though. It's not beyond all reasonable doubt when you present evidence to a grand jury. The grand jury can recommend indictments for all sorts of charges and crimes. The barrier of actually getting them to issue an indictment is very low.
Yeah.
Considering if you just look at some of the indictments grand juries have made over the years that turn out to be nothing. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. But I think that's what people are kind of holding on to, and also they want it to be true.
I want it to be true.
That's the other thing you have to mention. And look, I think there's enough information to realize that the SPLC, even before this grand jury indictment, was definitely nefarious in their actions.
Mm-hmm.
They're naming people as extremists who we know for sure are not extremists simply by just watching and listening to them or reading what they've written.
Well, extremism is a completely subjective term, like who decides what is extreme and what's not.
Yeah, is Bernie Sanders not extreme?
Strict constitutionalists could be extremists, Libertarians could be extremists.
Or on the reverse. Like I said, is Bernie Sanders not extreme for advocating for essentially communism or communist policies that we know historically have led to the deaths of hundreds of millions of people?
So I haven't gone through their list, but there better be a lot of commies on there because that's the all-darn dangerous ideology.
Oh, there's not.
Yeah.
There ain't.
I don't, yeah. They have 16 pages on there, and there could be, you're telling me they didn't throw in one commie?
I don't know. I'll get Claude to look at it.
Give it to Claude. Okay, so in response, someone says, did the SPLC actually fund the freaking Charlottesville march? And this person responds, yes, funded, planned, coordinated, and executed. Okay, sure. I hope it's true. I want it to be true so badly. Yeah, see, they raise a lot of money just for fun, just for old time's sake. Let's go through some of the stuff. This is a video put out by Maze. And as you guys might remember, Joe Biden said his whole reason for getting into the race, the whole reason he became president, was because of Trump's comments after the Unite the Right rally. And
we have covered this so many times on this podcast because it's so infuriating.
And so we got the very fine people hoax from this rally, where I don't know what the number might be, but millions upon millions of people still believe that Trump called Nazis and white supremacists very fine people.
Obama just tweeted about it within the last year and a half.
I mean, it is wild.
It's still happening.
And now to find out after all this time, he was not talking about neo-Nazis that were very fine people. He was talking about the Southern Poverty Law Center. So I'm more upset about that.
Yeah.
All right, here's this thing. It's kind of funny.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches. And remember what the president said when asked?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Their veins bulging.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
No, he did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight. The veins bulging on their, as they were screaming. Remember, just close your eyes and picture what it was. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Nazi sympathizers carrying Nazi fags.
Fags?
Veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Veins bulging. Veins bulging. How are you, baby? How old are you? Their veins bulging. Just their veins bulging. Bulging. Veins. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Their veins they're bulging. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Veins just bulging. Bulging. Fewer. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
Racism is evil.
Damn it.
And those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as America.
Oh, man. He was a president.
It's a good little mashup.
Isn't that pretty crazy?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. So that gave us that whole situation. Let's get into a little bit more. F9 was affiliated with the neo-Nazi organization, the National Alliance.
One, F9.
Yeah, F9, and served as an F for the SPLC for more than 20 years. F9's activities included fundraising for the National Alliance. Between 2014 and 2023, the SPLC secretly paid F9 more than $1 million.
Okay, that's the other thing, by the way, the secret payments. So that's another thing you can infer upon. Like if they weren't doing anything, why did they need to funnel it through all of these shell companies and things that they were setting up?
The assumption would be just in case people at their organization looked into their statements to see if they were getting paid by someone. But so $1 million for an informant seems steep. I don't, and this is actually one that broke into an office and stole 25 boxes of documents, I believe from the National Alliance, I think. Stole 25 boxes, and they made copies and put the boxes back, and someone else ended up getting in trouble for it, taking the blame for it, and they got paid $6,000 to take the blame for it, what the person who was paid $1 million did. They're just, their pay scales are off here, guys. All you Fs out there, got to get in contact with the SPLC. Okay. F Unknown was the imperial wizard of the United Clans of America. In an article published on November 22nd, 2013, the SPLC described the group as a millennial reboot of what was once a serious domestic threat. In its prime, the United Klans of America was responsible for, among other things, the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama, which resulted in the deaths of 4 little girls in 1963. F-27 was reported as an officer in the National Socialist Movement and the Aryan Nations-affiliated Sadistic Souls Motorcycle Club. Between 2014 and 2020, the SPLC secretly paid F-27 more than $300,000. Once again, those are like the one guy getting $1 million and the other one getting $270,000, $300,000 for the other. Those are large amounts of money that you would have to suspect those people were then taking money and doing other things with that money. Maybe you weren't just paying for that person's lifestyle, but were they then taking that and, say, funding some of the operations of the organization itself?
More likely, yes.
Yeah, that I would say likely yes with that. Once again, I hope that all that is the case. I'm just not someone who can come out here and say this is for sure what was happening. We know it. This whole hoax, this whole conspiracy, it's all been... I just can't do it. I know it's annoying. I believe you. I agree with you. It's annoying. F42 was a former chairman of the National Alliance. The SPLC website contained an extremist file webpage about F42 from which the SPLC solicited donations. So that is another thing where this person is on that list that we were just going through earlier, and they're soliciting donations on this website in order to try and go after and dismantle these people. But that one of the people, actually what we find is multiple people on the list are actually receiving money from SPLC.
To be on the list.
Yeah, maybe. F-30 led the National Socialist Party of America, was a former director of a faction of the Aryan Nations, and a former member of the KKK. SPLC website contained an extremist file webpage for that person between 2014 and 2016. See, much more narrow date range right there. They didn't say between 2014 and 2023. The SPLC secretly paid F-30 more than $70,000. So, some more random information. So here's kind of your summary. $1 million to the person from the National Alliance, $300,000 to the Aryan Nations person, $270,000 for the person that was in the planning for Unite the Right. And maybe that money was taken and used for the planning of the event.
Maybe it bought some tiki torches.
Could have been. Tiki torches, Now, they were cheaper back in those days, but it's not like they were free, You got to buy the oil for them, So it takes money. Let's see, $140K, former National Alliance chairman, $73,000 the former KKK members, $19,000 to American Front president and felon. So there we go. Got that information right there. Let me tell you the other thing that is maybe a little bit different conversation than you might hear on your local podcast network. Here's how they describe this scheme, how the DOJ describes this scheme. SPLC devised and intended to devise a scheme and artifice to defraud donors and attempted to do so and to obtain money and property belonging to donors by materially false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, promises, and omissions. The objective, let me get to the thing. The objective of the scheme and artifice was to obtain money via donations through materially false representations and omissions about what the donated funds would be used for. To carry out the scheme, the SPLC explicitly sought donations under the auspices that donor money would be used to help dismantle violent extremist groups. You might know where I'm going with this right now. While I would love this organization to get taken down, and I hope they are, and anyone who did something that stole money from someone else or defrauded another person, okay? And if they were actually creating some of these extremist groups who were making them worse than what they actually would have been in order to fundraise off of it. And then
use the information. Yeah, exactly.
I want all that to come to light, and I want it all to stop. I also cannot help myself, but when I see the government going after an organization that was soliciting voluntary donations, saying that they did it under false pretenses and did not actually use the money to do the things that they told people they were going to do. I just have a tough time not feeling the need to bring up the fact that they steal our money, and then they actually do this times about 1 million all over the place. That's the government, not the SPLC. The FBI does this with numerous organizations. This is not a defense of SPLC. This is an indictment of the government. Okay, why is it
the CIA, the NSA? They have all of these
just
NGOs,
everyone
all over the globe.
They're funding all these people. They fund private organizations or non-governmental organizations to do things that the government's not allowed to do. In fact, the SPLC was working with the FBI. No information, no proof that they were getting paid by the FBI, but if they got information, they were giving some information to the FBI. They were essentially working as like a private, say, investigative arm. Informant for the FBI. And that's how they knew that this was happening. Like Cash probably said, like, how we get all the information on all these people? Like, oh, the SPLC gave it to us. And well, how would they possibly have gotten that information? And so they dug into it a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Here's where they're going to get them, though. If you read at the end, here's where they're definitely going to get them. That the donors, not only were they not told about paying some of these leaders, but the problem is that some of the donated funds would be used in the commission of state and federal crimes.
That's where it actually.
So,
yeah, they might even get a perjury charge in there somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because that's all you get in trouble for. It's always the financial.
Now, the government
in the line
can fund individuals or groups to commit crimes, of course. That's the government. But if you, as an organization, use funds or directed funds to be used in crimes, well, you are a bad person.
Yes. And that, like, once again, this is not a defense of SPLC.
Yeah, they should go down, but so should the government.
I just find it interesting that so many people would be able to look at this and say, this is awful. They defrauded their donors and they created this whole scheme and they should go down for it. And I'm just like, yeah, but the government takes our money under threat of imprisonment. And
are they not defrauding taxpayers?
And they do this so much more. How many of these organizations they've infiltrated and funded and these situations they've created? My God, the Gretchen Whitmer fake kidnapping, all these things. They've taken our money without our consent and created things that would have never existed in the first place. Like they are inside of all of these organizations. They might be in the room with us right now for all we know. They're all over the place. And so, yeah, sure, let's go after SPLC, but I want everyone to realize that the things that they are legally getting accused of doing is what the government does all the time. And we've just decided, I guess, that it's okay for them to do it because they are the government. I mean, hell, at least the people that gave SPLC the money, it was done voluntarily. They might not have used it in the exact way, but I would be interested to know how many of SPLC's donors would take a look at what they were doing and would say, okay, yeah, I'm okay with it. I get it. Actually, I want to give you more. I didn't know you guys were doing that. That's crazy. You guys are actually infiltrating these groups. You guys are actually getting in and trying to get information on these. That's nuts. Let me up my donation.
Didn't know you guys had this undercover operation.
I posted it earlier.
Well, that's the other thing, by the way. Could they let their donors know that they had this undercover operation? Wouldn't that blow the whole cover of the undercover?
I guess so. Yeah, it kind of would.
Could you imagine being on the leadership of the National Alliance or whatever, and you're like, dude, I just saw you. I was looking, and SPLC basically said that they were letting their donors know that they're giving you money to get information from the National Alliance. Is that true? Obviously, it would blow their cover.
So, to wrap up this one, and I do want to, I will say, because I just saw Magoo's comment in the thing, this is, as far as something that the government should be doing or that the FBI should be doing, if they are to exist at all, this is one of the better things that they've done since this administration came in.
Does it make up for not going after Epstein? Does it make up for the Epstein
It's not going to
files?
make up for that, but let's put them in separate categories.
Does it make up for the Iran war?
Let's say it's a positive for the DOJ. Sure, if you want to go down the ledger, they're probably still negative currently, but this, in fact, is a positive. I'm glad that they are doing it.
And by the way,
any of this stuff they can root out. That's great.
That's what makes this podcast different. We're able to look at the actions of an administration, not blindly follow them one way or the other. And we can talk about good things they're doing and also talk about bad things they're doing and how it could be better. That's why you listen to this show.
There is one other thing that I want to know, and I hope the information comes out. I would like to know the extent of the cooperation that SPLC had with the FBI. They were clearly in communication. They had a partnership basically. Cash ended.
That's not going to come out.
Cash ended that partnership that they literally had. It was a news story. They ended this partnership last year, and I would like to know the extent. I would like to know how close to the SPLC's operations were they in fact operating as an arm of Biden's evil DOJ, something like that. So, just to make people happy, Biden's evil DOJ, Joe Biden's DOJ, evil. There we go. Yeah.
It's their fault.
Now I'm winning over hearts and minds. There we go. I would like to know that information, and I hope that it does come out, and I would like to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen in the future. And there is another positive from this that maybe is completely unintended. These private organizations could find that, maybe it's not worth it for us to work with the FBI, because someone that we don't like could get in office, and then they could end up indicting us for whatever it is that we're doing and charging us for whatever these crimes are that we're doing. So maybe we shouldn't work closely with the FBI. Maybe we'll just do this all in-house. And if we do find eventually some information, we'll send it over anonymously to them. But we're not going to operate as their private investigative arm anymore. That's just not a good idea. And so maybe all the other ones that are doing this or done it in the past or might think about doing it in the future will also keep that in mind. So that's a good thing. Well, we ended up talking about that for like 40 minutes. I was budgeting about 20. So
yeah, it's way under budget.
Yeah, we're not going to get to all of the other stuff except for that the ceasefire, as you guys know, is indefinite, right? Or that's based on that. This was at 3:09 p.m. yesterday. And this was after we were, once again, it was Power Planes and Bridges Day coming up. About to get Power Planes and Bridges finally. And he just decided that we're going to do an indefinite ceasefire. Okay, so that's good. That's good. We were supposed to have talks with Iran and Pakistan, except for Iran the entire time was like, yeah, we're not having talks. We're not doing that. And Trump was like, we are having talks on this date and this thing. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing that. You guys have this blockade going on and all that, and we're nowhere close. And he's like, and the talks are going to be amazing, and they're going to be so great, and we're going to come to a complete and full agreement. And they're like, we're literally not going to have these talks, dude. It's just not going to happen. He does this thing where he tries to manifest whatever it is, whatever the outcome is that he wants. And so he like imposes this new reality on top of what's happening. Like he'll just announce, there is a ceasefire and everyone has agreed and we are all so happy and we are having a meeting 2 days from now. And so if the other side comes out and doesn't do it, well, they look like the asshole, even though you like never talk to them until they saw your Truth Social post. And you're like, well, if I don't go do it now, it's going to look like I'm the one who's being nuts in this scenario. It's a smart strategy. It's just something that he does though. Like for instance, last, I think it was on Friday, he was out there saying that they've agreed to everything. We're not going to have ground troops to get the uranium. They've agreed to stop backing all the proxy groups. The proxy group thing is over. They're going to let us go in and get the nuclear dust. No money is going to change hands. We're going to ship it to a neutral or third-party country. They've agreed to everything. The strait is fully open, all this stuff. And the whole time, like the Ghalibaf guy from Iran and the other people are like, this is not true. This is not. We have this victory over Iran, mission accomplished day, to kick off our weekend, that the strait is fully open and all that. And I think it was open for maybe less than a day, something like that.
It's like 2 hours.
It's like barely
Then the U.S. is like,
all.
we're blockading it now. I saw videos of the military, talking to ships and telling them to return to the port.
They disabled the ship and they boarded another ship. I believe it was yesterday.
Told another ship to get out of their engine room because they were going to fire on the engine room, which they did.
Yeah. And so he gets into threatening just total war again, like early yesterday. And then towards the end of the day, he's like, we're going to hold off. So he says, based on the fact that the government of Iran is seriously fractured, not unexpectedly so, and upon the request of Field Marshal Asim Munir and Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan, we have been asked to hold our attack on the country of Iran until such time as their leaders and representatives can come up with a unified proposal. I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and, in all other respects, remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded, one way or another. President DJT.
It's like he asked ChatGPT to be an attorney and write this in Donald Trump's voice.
And so after the ceasefire is extended until there's some proposals submitted, the newest news today has been that Iran says it has seized 2 ships in the Strait of Hormuz hours after Trump's ceasefire extension. So there's a good thing and then there's the bad thing. The bad thing is the entire situation, which we didn't have to be in. There was still time to negotiate before getting into this entire thing. Okay. It didn't actually have to happen.
There was still a policy of telling Israel to go F yourself.
That could have been the case.
Better not do this.
They could have negotiated away the enriched uranium. They could have actually tried to make a deal.
Trump could have made
instead of lying about it and killing the people they were negotiating with.
Yeah, Trump could have made a post on True Social telling Iran, "Hey, just so you know, America has nothing to do with this. Israel plans on attacking you. I told them to stop, but they're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be doing it. We're trying to negotiate with you." Trump could have totally exposed Israel.
Could have,
but no,
that's not going to happen. But
Trump's backed by Israel.
I think the fact that we're in this situation, it's going to be a very tricky, sticky situation to get out of, for sure. The actual good news is Trump definitely wants out. And I'm just taking that. I know that it's going to be tough to get out. The good news is we're not in a scenario where Trump is looking at like, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever this regime change takes, we're going to do it. And we're going to get embedded there in Iran and we're just going to stay there and run the country. Trump wants out of this mess for sure. He keeps backing down on the big, he keeps backing down on the big threats to blow up the country. That Iran's they're just not taking those seriously at all. And so he backs off. He finds a way to say, well, once again, Pakistan comes in and saves the day. And we're going to, that was the same thing. Previous power plants and bridges day was Pakistan came in and saved the day. And we know that one was fake because they had accidentally posted their draft thing on X. So I have no doubt that it was roughly the same thing again that happened here. The good news is he doesn't want some kind of long-term conflict here. And he is going to try to find a way out of it.
Because America doesn't want long-term conflict in the Middle East anymore.
He doesn't want it. He knows it's not good for his poll numbers. He probably also wouldn't like to be over there just exploding all of that money either. He knows it's a waste. Now, the problem might be he could end up having to shoot his way out of it. So he wants out of it. Hopefully we get out of it diplomatically. Hopefully he doesn't have to shoot his way out. Not him physically, but other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. So so there's the news. The news is that no one has any idea what's going on with the Iran thing. And if they tell you they know what's going on, they're lying to you. So there you go.
No, Trump. It looks like Trump may not know exactly what's going on either.
And no one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
At all.
I love his whole like the truth that, that you just shared. I love the fact that he was like, their leadership is fractured, so
yeah,
we're gonna wait for them to somehow unify. And no wonder it's fractured because we killed most of them.
Because we killed them.
Yeah. And you've talked about before on the show how maybe the leaders in northern Iran are not getting the messages from the leaders in southern Iran. And
for all we know, the carrier pigeon could have died on the way there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's just no way of knowing.
So,
anyway.
All right. Well, hope you all enjoyed that. I'm looking forward to our spirit conversation on Friday.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good. So we only have...
I was in here yelling when I saw the news earlier. Yeah. Charlie was in his office.
Yep.
And he could hear me yelling F's. And not the SPLC kind of F. So I was just yelling F's.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment, share the show, hit that bell or subscribe button, and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I actually noticed some people were mentioning our show on Reddit. And earlier I did a Google search.
Is that still a thing?
Yeah, I did a Google search earlier to see if we were on the list, and we weren't. Which is kind of unfortunate.
That sucks.
It'd be nice to be on the list. But, what came up was a lot of Reddit threads, people asking for libertarian podcasts, and we made several
people were like,
lists.
Don't listen to this one.
No, we were on the list to listen to, which was nice.
Well, thanks all of you Redditors out there.
So keep sharing the show. It's working. We appreciate it. If you want to spend some money, then you can join the Fed Haters Club. It is the best club in the world. We do a lot of pre-show when we do go live. So you get an opportunity to interact with us. It's a lot of fun. Go to joingml.com, sign up for that, or get yourself some products from our sponsors by supporting the sponsors that support this show. Visit the links in the show notes for that. If you do all of that, we'll be back again on Friday for some Dumb Bleep of the Week. Until then, I hope you have a good day and a good morning. Libertas.